I'm going to lead him a little bit further with this clear water.
Drop the fly in front of them. Swing up. Okay. There you go. In front of them. Yep, he's on it. He's on it.
There he is. Yeah! Woo! Mention flats fishing, and most people automatically think of the glamour species tarpon and bonefish. But there's a third, even more elusive target that inhabits the skinny water. Hello everybody, I'm Andy Mill, and this week we're at Casablanca Lodge in Mexico's South Ascension Bay in search of permit. Well, less than 25 years ago, there were only a handful of anglers that had ever caught a permit on a fly. But all that has changed with the advent of epoxy-headed flies called mows, and new generation flies tied to more accurately imitate the crabs and other crustaceans that are the permit's preferred diet. Now, permit normally hang out in the reefs and over the local wrecks that are bountiful in the tropical waters. But on a rising tide, you can find permit up on the flats prowling for food. Now, these remote waters of Ascension Bay are world famous for a variety of shallow water gamesters. But the permit fishing here is truly second to none. One engine. One engine. Although I'm not particularly fond of flying in small single-engine aircraft, the short hop down the coast from Cancun to South Ascension Bay is truly spectacular. Unlike most exotic destinations, the route to Casablanca follows 100 miles of one of the most beautiful shorelines in the world. During the last decade, this portion of Mexico's Caribbean coast has literally exploded on the tourism map with scores of lavish new seaside resorts like Puerto Aventura. But as these 800-year-old Mayan ruins at Chotamal attest, the mystical beauty of this region has drawn sun worshippers to these waters since long before Columbus set foot in the Americas. And in remote encampments like Casablanca, which are literally carved out of the surrounding jungle, visitors can step back in time to enjoy a resource that has changed little since the Mayans. Well, the Volkswagen version of aircraft made it. Thank you. Viva la Mexico!
I love this moment, you know, all the boats.
I know, it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's like it's an exciting part of the day, you know, the sun coming up and everybody's excited about it.
That's right.
Although situated far from civilization, Casablanca Lodge is anything but uncivilized. The first-rate accommodations extend right down to the resort's fleet of excellent flat skiffs and seasoned guides like Ozzy and Martine. The picturesque route to the oceanside flats winds its way through the slalom-like network of narrow natural channels through the mangroves that are created by the area's strong tidal currents. As we approach the fishing grounds, I can't help feeling confident that my chances of taking a rare permit on fly have never been better. Ozzy, they say if you want to catch permit in Casablanca, just use the flies that they have here.
Okay. Well, these patterns that you have in your box right now, those are standard patterns. They might work in here, but there's a specific pattern that I carry in my box and that I like to use a lot. This is it. That's the kind of light tan crab that permits seem to like a lot here. And it's kind of heavily loaded underneath so that it sinks fast and you can have it in the bottom as soon as possible in front of the permit.
So when you see the fish itself, how far of ahead do you cast the fly?
Well, depending on its speed always, and if you see it cruising or feeding. I mean, if it's feeding and going slowly, you can cast closer. If it's moving faster, then you have to cast like 4 or 5 feet in front of him.
So you have to time it so it intercepts the fish.
That's right. So you have to time it so when the fish actually gets to the fly is already on the bottom.
On the bottom. And then once it gets to the bottom, what kind of a strip or retrieve, or do you just let it sit?
Okay, sometimes just letting it sit will do it, because a crab knows it has no chance to escape from a permit. So it tries to stand there and disappear. Other times, to get the permit's attention, what you do is a very slow retrieve to have the crab crawl. You don't want your fly to jump on top of the bottom, because that's not what a crab will do.
They sort of skimmer on the bottom.
That's right, and then you stop. So it's a little retrieve and stop. And then you'll get the permit's attention. And once the permit's taking the typical long look at the fly, then what you want to do maybe is twitch it a little bit, just a little twitch, so a slight move on the fly, and that should make the permit take the fly.
How often do you get shots a day? How many fish do you have here? I mean, is it pretty consistent?
It is, especially, I mean, year-round all our clients from Casablanca are catching permit regularly. We're having grand slams, averaging almost 1 slam per week, and we catch big fish too. The biggest permit we caught last week was 35 pounds. That's a big fish. So we're catching fish regularly, and a lot of fish and big fish.
How many of these do you have?
Well, I have a couple, and then I have this other pattern here, which is instead of a lamb's wool like this one is deer hair. Yeah, this is a more commercially tied crab. Yeah, this is more traditional with the feathers, but that's the kind of color that seems to work. Actually, there's another color that we use here in Casablanca, which is it's got some olive on it, but this is my favorite color, so that's why I carry these.
All right.
And we'll give them a try.
Well, bless me with the magical one. Which one should I use?
Well,
this
I
one?
tied this specially for you, so you better use it.
Super, okay. And not lose it.
Well, if you lose it with a permit, that'll be great.
Even in a permit paradise like Casablanca, where it's not uncommon to see 50 permit a day within casting distance, you still have to get them to eat the fly. All right, Mr. Perm. And that's the most difficult part. Be my buddy, be my pal. What do you think, guys? Can I cast to them? Think I'll be able to find them?
You will. You will. That's for sure.
There are two. I see 2 tails.
Yeah, I see 2 tails too. That's fine.
They're facing. I think they're facing the way.
They're facing that. Yeah. All yours.
We need to get a little closer. Yeah, that's a long, long cast. Maybe they're coming this way a little bit. I don't think I have enough line.
You can reach him. There's 3 of them now, I see.
I'd rather get a good shot, a little bit closer.
Intenta acercarte un poquitito. We're gonna let the wind push the boat so we can get closer without making any noise.
On the rocks.
On the rocks, because the pole's been hitting the rocks.
That's what you call the stealth stalk. Under radar. I think they're facing left.
Yeah, right now they're facing left. You see the tail?
Yeah. Is he on it? Let me get this in here. They moved away a little bit. See that tail?
Yeah.
Nothing like making a 90-foot cast.
Nice cast.
I was behind him a little bit.
It's on the fly. It's on the fly. It's coming after. Slow.
Close. Oh, you look at my heart. Oh my gosh, that was exciting. Are they spooked, you think, or they just swim off?
Well, he was following the fly and turned around, so that's...
You take a good look at it.
Yeah.
Ozzy, ask him if I should do something different. Did he like what I did, or should
Yeah,
I do something
the guy just told me the shot was perfect. His advice is to give the fly another opportunity, and in case we have another perfect shot like this one and they don't take the fly, I'll be very sad because that's my fly and we'll change flies.
But he liked what we did.
Yeah, he said everything was done perfectly, and actually you saw the fish follow the fly. It's just...
Right, he just didn't eat it.
It didn't eat it.
One of the most maddening aspects of permit fishing are the refusals. Even when you do everything perfectly, you get far more lookers than takers. Which is why the world's best permit specialists only average about one fish for every 10 to 15 days on the water. Is there a place where you typically find these permit? In a bay or during a current or off of a...
Yeah, the guides get to know the hot spots for permit, so after a while they know where they are. Basically, permit like to feed on the top, on the edge of the flats where it drops to deeper water, and they like this kind of bottom where you find rocks and sand all together.
Where crabs like to live.
That's right.
And current, maybe a little bit of current. Is the tide important?
The tide?
Yeah.
Yeah, the tide are quite important. Permit usually come up the edges of the flats on incoming tides. Mm-hmm. So that's when you want to be there.
So what do you tell your customers if the tide is falling? Let's go bone fishing?
Well, that's an option, and but we do find permit still on falling tide.
If you're a permit fanatic, you learn to content yourself with the chase rather than the catch. Well, being born with the wrong metabolism for permit fishing, patience has never been one of my stronger suits, so I decided to switch flies to one of my favorite patterns. Ozzy, are those fish right there?
Yep, right there. Yeah.
Martin?
You got them right there.
I'm going to lead him a little bit further with this clear water.
Just drop the fly in front of him. There you go. Trip it. Yep, he's on it. He's on it. There you go.
Here he is. Yeah! Woo! I'd rather be lucky than good.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you know what? It's such a fine balance between letting that crab sit and then bumping it.
Yeah. And you know what happened this time which helped you a lot? They fought for the fly.
Yeah, those two fish.
That's just great. When that happens, like one is following and then the other one, without even taking a good look at the fly, he thinks there's food and he comes and boom.
It's also, yeah, that's what you said. I mean,
Perdón? Sí. Sí.
you know, the most disappointing thing about this is that this fish did not eat your fly. I'm so very sorry for you. In the exclusive fraternity of fly anglers who specialize in chasing permit, Del Brown is a living legend. During his 40 years on the water, averaging at least 100 days a year, he's closing in on 370 permit. And his experience has also led him to design one of the most consistently productive permit flies in history, Del's Merkin. There's little about this elusive gamester that Del doesn't know, and I feel privileged that he is willing to share some of his secrets with us. Dale, you're the foremost successful permit fisherman, and obviously we all like to fish, but we also like to catch. I'm intrigued with your passion for a species that is relatively known not to like to eat flies all that well.
Permit is kind of a challenge. I fish for a lot of the others, for the bonefish and the tarpon. I hold the 8-pound tarpon record, and I've caught a lot of bonefish and snook and other fish too. But the permit is more of a challenge, and it's more of a hunt than anything else, and that's the fun. And to out-fumble the fish to make him grab the fly, that's the thrill to me, and the challenge is to do something. And also I developed the fly, and so there was a lot of experimentation that went on as we went ahead and did that too.
What has been the most important element over the last few years in successful permit fishing?
That would be the difference between realism and an impressionistic fly. In other words, it doesn't matter whether a crab looks like a crab as long as it acts like a crab. That's the main thing that has made the difference. All the original ones did not act that way, and the fish were not at all fooled by it. And catching a permit up till a few years ago was practically impossible, and not many people did it. Now that they have a good chance of doing it, why, there's a lot more people fishing for them.
Are the flies tied to imitate the crabs and crustaceans more accurately?
Just the opposite of that. It isn't too important to have the flies look like a crab, it's to make them act like a crab. So we've added lead dumbbell eyes to it so that when the fish sees a fly, theoretically the crab will dive terrified for the bottom, and the fish will go after it and take it. Before, the fly more or less ignored the fact that the fish was chasing it, and so therefore the fish didn't bother to eat it. It wasn't running away from him.
Once the fly hits the water and the fish sees it, do you let it drop, sit, or do you strip it?
You do the slow stripping because otherwise you wouldn't be able to feel a fish. Those fish can grab a natural crab, crush it, suck the juice out of it, and spit it out in a heartbeat. So when you consider they don't have any hands or fingers or anything else, all they have is their mouth, and so they must be very sensitive to, I assume, to be able to decide very quickly whether it's not. So what you try to do is strip it very slowly and hope that you can feel it. When you do, then you tighten up on the fish and go from there.
What is the most difficult part in getting the fish to actually eat the fly once it hits the water?
Well, the thing that spooked off more fish is as soon as the fly is presented to the fish, you pop it or jerk it very fast, and that seems to paralyze the fish. And every fish that I have ever fished for is a coward. The bait never charges the fish. So if there's any quick movement or anything like that, the fish are away.
In closing, what advice would you have for someone who is aspiring to catch his or her first permit on fly?
First would be get a good guide and listen to him. Most of the really good ones know how to do this, and that would be my advice. It would be to listen to them. They know how the step-by-step how to do it. They also know where the permit are and the times that it's best to fish for them. So I would say I can't emphasize the fact that the guide is one of the most important things. Personally, I have never tried the do-it-yourself technique. When you come to the Florida Keys, you have an investment in airfare and motel rooms and food and everything else, so I think it's false economy to try to save on the guide fees or the guides.
Oh, that's sweet. You know, it is such a dance.
Yeah.
You know, body language. The fish, the fly, the fish, the fly.
It's just amazing to see this fish.
And obviously luck plays a major role. Well, it's also great being here and the fact that you get a lot of shots.
Yeah, that's a good thing about it. It's not only one single shot and you lost your opportunity. Here you get so many chances that...
And with them being so oblong and flat, it's like pulling a garbage can lid through the water.
Yeah, and they're strong. And their stamina, I mean, they resist for a while. There it is.
Ozzy, what's the average size permit you have here?
Well, the average size that we've been catching from Casablanca, from both lodges in both bays, it's been around 10, 12 pounds.
This is about the same size, I think.
Yeah, I think that would be a good example of it.
Ah, they're beautiful. They're hard to see in this water without that black dorsal fin.
Yeah. And off it goes again.
I can imagine a lot of your early anglers, when they get the fish close, they want to hang on to the line.
Yeah, of course. I mean, once they see the fish close, they want to touch it and they want to have it over and make sure they have it, and that's when they break a lot of fish.
It's sort of like your first girlfriend, huh? Sorry, Ozzy.
That's okay. It's a good example. It's a good example.
You understand. Just when you think
what a beauty.
he's about done. Come on back here. I don't see the fly in his face. He may have sucked it in there pretty good. Come on, my friend.
There you go.
Sweetness.
Whew.
Thanks, Oz. We got him. He's got to be at least, what, 30, 40 pounds?
45 to 100 pounds, yeah.
Wow, is he beautiful, huh?
That's a beauty.
You know, like you said, you know, big is not necessarily better with permit. I mean,
No,
eventually
not
they
at
are
all.
once you catch a bunch, but just getting them, look how deeply he sucked that fly in.
Yeah.
Look how rubbery that mouth
There's
is.
no bad size permit.
Boy, he really ate it well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Just inhaled it. You see?
There we go.
All right. Oh, look at that dorsal fin. Isn't that pretty? Ozzy, good work. Martine, are you happy? Show me your face. All right, Mr. Permit, we'll let you go home.
And there it goes.
Good job. Oz, keep going. Although there is probably no better place on earth to challenge permit, catching one can still be a humbling experience. Unlike tarpon and bonefish, which will generally respond to a well-placed fly, fooling a permit into eating remains one of fly fishing's rarest accomplishments. To be successful, you need a lot of shots, which is why Casablanca and the flats of South Ascension Bay will always be close to my heart.